Okay, so now that I've laid out everything as far as all of my Crohn's symptoms and procedures and everything like that, I just wanted to touch base about the typical things that one feels when you're going through multiple surgeries and all the different procedures and all of the scary feelings and worrisome feelings and things that you can't control overwhelming you and your body and you're not being able to do anything or have knowledge to do anything about it. After all, that's why someone suggested that I do this channel and make videos, is to help me get those emotions across to people who matter to me. So that's what I'm going to do. So when I first got diagnosed, I was blindsided. It was awful. I didn't know how to process being the only person that I knew that had Crohn's disease. I struggled a lot because I had dropped so much weight. I didn't have a steady job. I couldn't function and I didn't understand why. So I was in this really bad haze and it took me a long time to get out of it. Um, I didn't have, I mean, I had support, but it was fractured um, support. I mean, they were great and they helped me through a lot, and I wouldn't have been able to make it through without their support. I just didn't, I don't think I had as much inner strength as I do now, whether it be age or, whatever makes that strength. Um, so, from beginning of my diagnosis, I experienced a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression because I didn't know. I didn't know. I wasn't as informed, and it just kind of happened and sprung up on me. Like within a month, I had immediate life altering surgery. Since then, depression and anxiety has been under control for the most part, and it was just about learning my symptoms and listening to my body, figuring out what foods I could eat, what would trigger me, what would upset my stomach, and just figuring out what things I could do and still eat and still function and things like that. It took me a long time with being okay to talk about it with people because people don't talk about going to the bathroom. It's not something that people normally talk about. And typically, Crohn's is a going to the bathroom disease. Um, so it was hard in the beginning. It's getting easier. I still struggle with starting new jobs, making new friends, going to new places, because an attack of your Crohn's symptoms can happen at any moment. And if you're not by a bathroom, it just happens. So it's a scary thing, an overwhelming thing, and an embarrassing thing, especially when you're young. I think that people think when you get older, it's not okay to have accidents or, it's just more common. But when you're younger, it's not. So when you have a disease that can trigger that, it's quite embarrassing. So just take that into consideration if you know somebody who has a disease or is having problems. But they have a lot of self issues with it, a lot of internal issues um, that they place on themselves. They don't really need anything placed from the outside people, outside world. So, anyways, that's my rant about that. um, I guess the other scary thing about Crohn's is all the medications. I started on Pentasa, which is a pill. I was taking 4 pills 4 times a day. They didn't do well in my stomach. And it was really hard at that time to take that much medication that regularly. So that didn't last. I would go on it, get off of it, go on it, get off of it. It wasn't really being effective. So then I started with Humira. I don't do well with shots, and giving myself shots I do not do well with. So it was always having to find somebody to give my shots to me, which was always a struggle because people have their own lives. It worked for a little while. Finding people to give me my shots. And then I lost insurance because when you have Crohn's disease, you miss a lot of work, or you have potential to miss a lot of work. Um, so then I lost insurance, and then I ended up moving, and life happens, so then I stopped taking that. And then I just kind of dealt with my Crohn's. If I'd have a really bad attack, I'd go to the hospital, go to the ER, urgent care. They'd give me steroids, a couple weeks on high dose steroids would usually resolve my symptoms enough for me to function. So I did that for many years. And then it started getting worse, and I had a dream job, and that's when all of my symptoms became too much. I was having symptoms at work. It was interfering with the job that I really could see myself doing for the rest of my life. And I reached out and went to a new GI doctor and got put on IV medication. Started with Remicade. Remicade infusions tend to be really rough on your body, but they helped me the fastest, at least in the beginning. They're basically IVs. You go in, you get hooked up, and with Remicade, it was just dependent on how fast she pushed it. I'd have to take pre-medication, I'd sign a waiver um, saying that I knew it was chemo-like medication, had the same risk factors and all of that. I'd take my pre-medication, get hooked up, and be in there 2-3 hours. I would always take the next morning off because the medication would make you sleepy and your body ache. After that, it worked for a while. Then I was still having symptoms. I was still having issues with blood and stuff like that. So the doctor upped my medication to the medium dose of Remicade. I took that once, and within 2 weeks after, I had hives. The hives were really bad all over my body. Couldn't shake it with Benadryl. Went to the ER twice. Was off of work for that. Just because it was itching so bad I couldn't function. So needless to say, we stopped that. They moved me to another IV medication called Entyvio. I had my loading doses of that, and I took pre-medication with that. The dosage, it usually took an hour to an hour and a half, but I still had to sign a waiver before I got it. Just saying, that I knew the benefits and all the things with that. I also, with that medication, I did my loading doses in one after, and then I couldn't handle my abdominal pain anymore. So that's when I ended up going to U of MER, and they admitted me for bowel rest, which is what doctors tend to do when you go for Crohn's pain and your abdominal area. So they admitted me, and then that's where all that took off. But since then, since all of the surgeries that I went through, I got discharged. Wound is looking better. One wound is healed. And my new GI team decided to put me on Stelara. So far, Stelara has been a loading dose of IV medication, and then there's shots. And most of the IV stuff, or the medications, starts at every 8 weeks. So I haven't made it yet to my second dosage, so I haven't had to give myself a shot, or had Katie give me a shot. With Stelara, it actually is helping my psoriasis. So that's been a plus. I haven't noticed much change with my Crohn's because I'm still having some of the symptoms related to having the surgery and multiple surgeries. So I'm still waiting to find out how that's progressing or how that's helping. But so far, so good. Hopefully that continues. Um, there's a ton of supplements that I take, a ton that they want me to start taking that I haven't started yet. Um, just because I have so many other things going on. I do know that I have recently started taking iron via infusion, which is really strange because the stuff that goes in is like a rusty red, and all the other infusions I've ever gotten were clear, like milky. So it's been really strange. Um, but that actually goes in just like a regular like bag of fluid, and so far it's helped me. I took iron supplements for a very long time before, and I think some of my abdominal issues have come from that. Because oral iron can cause a lot of those symptoms. So it's nice to have a doctor finally listen to me and try the IV route. Hopefully, I'll see a little bit more benefits that way, and maybe I can get actually healed from my surgeries. Um, Medication wise, that's been about the extent of my Crohn's stuff or Crohn's medication. Through everything, every time I get a new medication, I get really scared. Just because there's been tons of stories about different medications causing different things happening. Um, a lot of the IV medications are still new, so they're not quite sure the side effects or, all of those kinds of things. So that's why I'm sure I sign the waiver every time I take it. Um, it's just really scary. So if you know people who are taking medication like that, listen to their stories because I don't know, it feels nice to have somebody hear you when you're experiencing something like that it could be so life altering and it's so scary. Um yeah, so just hear them, please. It'll help a whole bunch. Um Yeah, so I guess right now my overall feeling is with my Crohn's is supposedly I'm in remission. I don't know for sure. It'll be interesting to see when I have the next colonoscopy. Um, if I have active inflammation still in my ileum or not. We will see. Hopefully I don't have any active inflammation, and that way I can keep it not active. Since I have all these other things going on. We shall see, though. Fingers crossed.